Hello world, we're back with Tree Fire Journal. We're going to be covering a whole bunch of stuff today. We're going to have fitness and basketball, tennis, STEM, modeling, music, and U.S. politics. So quite a lot to go over, all different bubbles out there. All right, going to start off first with fitness and basketball. So I am Naiji Coach, and with me I have Naiji Glenn, and these are two topics that he and I are going to try to get into together. I guess you should go ahead and hit fitness and then roll right into basketball. I'd like to spend maybe a little more time with basketball today just because it's the first time we're doing it, maybe figure out how to come about it. But we were talking a little bit off camera, and the personal interest story is sort of where we come into it more, Glenn and I, so we'll probably touch on that. But maybe we have some basketball fiends out there that can give us some feedback on what's going on. The only thing I really know about is that there's a championship, something going on now, but I don't really understand how that works. Do you, Glenn?
I haven't really looked into it. I you know, they have their championships. They have their
right. Yeah, all I know is that it's happening now. I don't, but a friend of Jaileen's actually is into basketball, so I was like trying to figure out so I can be more conversational. So maybe as of course this, we'll figure some stuff out. Like this is how bad I was. I actually tried to watch a game just so I'd know a little something, be able to talk about it. And like I was like, oh, there's 5 people on each team on the court. That was like my big revelation. You probably already knew that.
yeah, like the forward, and then there's the.
Oh, you're ahead of me now. Okay, how?
Yeah. There's certain things like the defense. I think there's certain positions like that.
Yeah, I couldn't quite figure that out yet. I guess I have to watch more games. It's very fast paced. I did like that.
There's like the 3-pointer shot, there's a 2-pointer shot, there's a layup. I know, okay, these things are kind of like coming back to me a little bit, yeah.
That's cool, cool. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into fitness first. I got that open. Let me know, oh, where's that? There it is, okay. All right, you seen that?
Yeah.
Cool, all right, here we go. First up is, and I'll take odds, and you can take evens. And if you have any thoughts in your mind, please go ahead and just drop them in there. Any anecdotes or thoughts in general. All right, so this is.
I think we already covered him.
Did we? Okay, cool. Okay, I was wondering. I think I got a little confused. All right, so skip him. Yeah, I thought some of these looked familiar. Here we go. How about this guy? You know what? I didn't get that out. So there it is. Aha, this guy.
Yeah, this guy's new.
Okay, here we go. I must not take the tag out last time. All right, so Jibai Radu Antonio. I don't know if I pronounced that right.
I think it's Radu. And
you know about him? What's his deal?
He was another sample that was that has like a connection to Grego Gallagher, the G9 that we had read on the quiz of mine, and they're like buddies. And I thought they would. I wanted to like sort of like get into Grego Gallagher and sort of like his immediate circle of friends to see if I could maybe turn over some more Durhams. And I was maybe wondering if he could possibly
if he might
sort of like
be a
Brandon.
You're wondering if he might be a Durham, Radu?
Yeah, I thought maybe he could be something like that. Just like the way with Brandon Carter, I think he was another sample that's also like buddies with Grego Gallagher. I was wondering if he could also be a G9. And so same thing with Radu. I was thinking, you know, maybe there was a chance to turn over another G9 or possibly even an IG, maybe something else. I don't know. But yeah, finding out that he's a G-Vi now, it makes sense. It's interesting. And yeah, I mean, you know, you might. I feel like there might be something like that might happen, but you know.
Yeah. No, for sure. I mean, because there's the one instance, maybe there's more to it. I'm wondering if maybe. I don't know if this is true or not because we haven't really expanded super into just vloggers in general. But I'm wondering if maybe the acting thing, if maybe G and I do a lot of vlogging, and then G-Vi obviously have a real strong presence in fitness. Maybe there's some crossover between there.
So
because the guy that was a G&I, I forget what he looks like, but didn't he have a slightly different style than some of the G-Vi's, a bit more like an actor vibe to him? Is that right?
He had sort of more of like a artistic, I guess, angle. Sort of. He's not so much into like the technical, I think, aspect of it. Like when it comes to like doing this kind of a like getting into the details of the plans and stuff. He's more philosophical, I guess you could say. When he talks more off the cuff and just in generalization. And I don't know. It's hard to describe exactly, but it is something that
right. That sounds like what I think that sounds familiar. So I wonder.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe he has other Genii friends that maybe he meets in that way. You know what I mean? Like maybe because Genii, kind of like Nige, can sometimes have quite a range of interests, and then when they're in certain bubbles, it's not uncommon they might be one of the few people there. Even though that kind of the going native thing, Durhams can, if they have an interest in basketball or fitness or whatever, they can sort of find a way to make friends, even though maybe their mojo is not very prevalent there.
Yeah. They're not necessarily as like. I get the impression that the Durhams, they're not necessarily, they don't go too deep into like the details of a certain bubble, maybe too much.
Right.
They're more just sort of like, I don't want to say like scattered, but they're more like they have, like you said, like they have a more varied interests, and they kind of like approach it from that kind of an angle. So that is interesting. I'm going to try and see if I can take note of something like that, or just like look out for that sort of thing.
Yeah. Well, if there's any more from his circle or anything like that you can find, go and throw it our way, and we'll get those too.
Sure.
Let's see what else we got here. Next one's yours.
Genii Macy Arias.
And
so
I think Jaileen's one introduced me to her. She, I think, was maybe an abusive relationship or something like that, and may had low self-esteem, and she kind of used fitness to bolster herself. So that's a good success story.
Interesting.
Like human interest story. That's cool. All right. 3.
Yeah, the Genii I think needs to be colored in, but yeah.
Oh yeah, but I'm still
Yes.
on the bubble reading. Something I was talking with Mai about the emails. That just got some general principles as I've been doing this, and one of them is that kind of just go with like everything being a soft read until the bubble's more filled out. That way we can let things kind of be what they are. And sometimes new data may conflict with previous reads. It's okay to kind of like just be kind of a little loosey goosey, at least when we're like just unpacking everyone.
Yeah, soft reads mostly. Yeah.
We'll definitely firm them up for sure once we get canvassing going.
That's interesting.
Alrighty. Vaiji Ben Kumber, another fitness YouTuber. You know him?
Yeah, he was one of the samples I put in, and I think Vaiji makes a lot of sense. I was not expecting him to be one though. I think I was expecting him to maybe be a Durham. Yeah, I thought that there was probably a good chance that he could be one, maybe a Genii, if not.
What made you think that? What made you suspect that?
I think it had to do with the fact that he again is part of the immediate circle of another Durham, and so I was wondering if maybe he was possibly going to be one himself too. And he kind of had this air about him, this energy about him, that kind of felt like it might be a Durham. I don't know, like.
Well, just looking at the pictures here, he looks like he has a good amount of knee. Is he more upbeat than maybe some Vaiji are?
I think maybe that's probably what I was noticing. I think that's probably what it was. But
I'm curious so far because a lot of these vloggers here better than I do, but it seems like the Der Sens are both pretty heavily in there. Have you maybe detected any initial differences in their style between the Jibai fitness experts and the Vaiji fitness experts?
Vaiji, oh yeah, they tend to be a lot more densely like knowledgeable on the various subjects that they get into, and they tend to want to get like I think hunters naturally do. They just want to, they kind of like delve really deeply into that and like make that the focus.
Right.
Where I think the Jibai are more, they're a little bit more playful. They're a little bit more, but playful isn't exactly the right word. They're not as serious about that. They're a little bit more just I don't want to say freeing in a sense, and they're more like
screening. What word did you use? I'm sorry.
They're, I don't know, like I think the word that I used was sort of like they're more I forgot. But it's sort of like they're more like engaging, I think, or they're
The playfulness. I mean, they do have knee higher, so there is that.
There is that. But it's still modulation for them, so I don't want to focus too much. I'm trying to capture a word that describes the G a little bit more, which is that they're more about connecting with the audience, and they're not necessarily about pushing towards a like worldview that they want to get across. Like some of the doctors and some of the really experts, they're not considered like experts, you can say. The Vaiji, I think they have more like a desire to want to be seen as and project themselves as like the expert in the field.
Gotcha.
If that makes sense. The Jivai, they don't have that so much. They're more like, like a player that's kind of like in the scene, and they're just kind of like engaging and with the people, and they're more about their story and like sharing that and getting you in on it too, and kind of getting, I don't know, that's kind of like the vibe I get. I don't know.
That makes sense. Something else I'm noticing just from the pictures, it seems like the bearing of the Vaiji tends to be more serious, like their clothing even, and then in the contrast, the Jivai, more of them, not just the bodybuilder ones, but even just the fitness YouTubers, they seem to be a bit more of a specimen. Do you know what I mean?
What's that word mean?
Specimen, like a physical specimen, an impressive physical, like their physicality is immediately visually impressive.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like the Vaiji, at least the ones I've seen so far, they don't seem to have such an immediate, whoa, that's a very physical human.
Yeah, they're not, I guess, like they don't lead with that. They don't project that like as their main thing. They kind of like are more about what they have in their head, basically, as far as like their understanding of things, and that's kind of like what they are focused on, I would say. Yeah. And yeah, just in the pictures I can see here, like he's trying to look more professional, look more. Right, yeah. So I think there's a psychologically, like they're different in that sense as well.
Interesting. That'd be something that's fascinating to study too. You're talking about the Durhams with the Dursens. Also interesting to see like maybe groups of friends of Dursens, like how they, what roles they play in like a group. Because I imagine it's got to be some crossover between these Vaiji and Jivai experts as far as friendships go. Curious how that goes. I'm very obviously, I'm much more familiar with Durham friendships and how they overlap. But it'd be cool to see how it relates to the literals.
Mm-hmm.
All right, this next one's yours. Make sure I move those tags.
Jivai Vince Del Monte.
Is he one you know of?
Yeah, I think he was also another one of mine as well. So Jivai, I was expecting Jivai, and it makes sense that he's one. He's a little bit more Vi, I think, heavy.
He does look a little more, I don't know, the eyes a little more pinched.
Yeah, and he has more of like a little bit more of like an understanding that he like try like a worldview understanding that he kind of pushes out, sort of like this is the way that it works, and he's kind of focused a little bit more on that. So he's a little bit more of like an expert kind of thing, but he's he's a Jivai that's doing that, not so much a Vaiji that's doing that. So
now these fitness YouTubers, is it a tight community? Do they know each other? How's that, or do they kind of all do their own thing?
I think there's a little bit of both, but I think they are kind of like all a little bit aware of each other, and they kind of like have that connection. There's certain, I think, collaborations that get done, and I think they all kind of like generally have they know of one another, and some people they kind of like group up, and some people I think maybe.
I was wondering if maybe like the being experts and also being like your buddy is going to help you out. I was wondering if that might be helped. They can help each other bonus stack that, or maybe they feel like the other one gets in the way of their shine. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to get more samples on that. All right, next up, Jivy Chantel Duncan, a fitness model. So I was wondering how that would play out, because I know there's a lot of Jivy models, but I was wondering, with the Jivai being so heavy here, how their other fits into it. So it does look there is some crossover, although I don't think I have her so far, but maybe there'll be more.
I think there are quite a few Jivy, right?
There's a lot of JIV models, but I don't know as far as like talking fitness models. On fitness, at least so far, but it's limited. It seems like Visi are fairly strong in fitness modeling.
Interesting.
We had done him already.
I don't think we have.
Okay.
Have we?
Hey, honestly, these bodybuilders, they look so alike. But it's good that we use GVI.
Yeah, Jivi Mando Elise Bia.
Nice. All right. This guy looks like classic. Like this looks like a classic GVI. You know what I mean? The pilot head, the big smile, but those pinched eyes.
Yeah.
GVI Ibrahim Fahim.
And he has also got a bit of a pallor, I feel like.
He does.
Doesn't he?
He does. It's it's interesting. That's why I was mentioning that because you mentioned that because it's like it's interesting because the G alpha tend to like exude this like life force. You know, that passionate life force. So it's interesting seeing that G source life force, but then with the Vi tandem pallor. It's like right here, that's an interesting combination because it's pallor, but he looks very robust at the same time. Because normally I think of pallor, I don't think of robust.
Yeah. Those eyes.
All right, here you go.
Jivi Georgia Fear. I think we covered her though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this. This time we'll get all cleared up and smooth sailing next time. All right, Jivi Stephen Frazier. Reminds me a little bit of Alistair Overeem, Jivi fighter.
Oh, I see. Is he also a Jivi?
Yeah, it's him and his brother. I forget his name, but yeah, they're two brothers. He's fighting for the title next soon, which you don't see a lot of. There's Jivi in mixed martial arts. They don't tend to be the top sometimes, but he's fighting for the title.
Right.
This one here is yours.
This is Jivi Matti Fusaro.
He looks like he has a good amount of Vi, this one.
Yeah, he does. I think his eyes are quite like they're kind of like deeply set in his head, and but he's got a lot of strong G, and he's very warm as well. But he is very knowledgeable. Like some of his videos that I've seen, he talks about a lot of the stuff that he talks about is like he does so like a very good canvassing, which.
Gotcha. Yeah, his eyes here. I mean, he's got the pilot face, but there's just a bit more tensioning around the eyes than you see with some other riffs of GVI.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Go. Here's a different one. Nijai Greg Glassman, coach and founder of CrossFit.
Interesting.
Yeah, when I was doing the interview of him, his angle, he's kind of coming at it from like Nez Alpha Renegade. You know what I mean? Like we do fitness our own way. I was not expecting a Nijai. That was like kind of cool.
Yeah. It's interesting. The idea of CrossFit is it gets a lot of like it kind of gets a little bit of a bad rep, but at the same time it's kind of like accepted by some people. It really depends on how it's I think how it's done, because it can be a little bit dangerous, I think, but I don't know. It's like I think the people the way that they understand it is sort of like you're supposed to do the exercises and stuff in a certain way in a controlled manner, whereas with CrossFit it's kind of a little bit I think it's a little bit more crazier, like the way that they do the pull-ups and stuff.
Right.
It's a little bit like you're not even working the muscle properly, kind of thing. And I don't know. It's interesting that
they go for like more like full body movements, don't they? Like functional movements as opposed to like body part.
Well, I think there is that, but it's sort of like I don't know.
Well, I'm not sure how I feel in the interview of him. It's a kind of like a very philosophy approach that like the way he was talking, it was sort of like he was going to temple. I don't know how well they do their temple. I guess it's me because it all seemed like maybe they have some pretty fanatically devoted people. That seemed to be something else that maybe some people thought was cool and some people thought was a little scary.
Yeah, and yeah, it's kind of like a little bit. It kind of reminds me a little bit of like a cult, but I don't know. It's something.
I know people have mixed feelings about that mascot. Was it Pukey? Their mascot Pukey?
I'm not sure.
It's a mascot apparently of like something vomiting because vomiting's part of it.
Yeah, that's where it kind of gets a little bit dangerous, I think. Yeah.
Makes you there. All right, let's go pretty quick here because we got to get into basketball. Just two more.
Is this mine?
That's yours.
So this is Jivai Kai Green.
Pretty classic.
He's got the very big head.
Yes, he does. All right, and I think I have one more. Boom, this guy. Jivai Christian Guzman. Another fitness
Guzman, I think it's.
Guzman, thank you. And he has been a more of a narrow face, but I do think he kind of reminds me a little bit here on the left, a little bit of Antonio Sabato Jr. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
Antonio Sabato Jr. Not exactly, no.
He was like a soap actor, but he's also really known for fitness. I think he's done some fitness books and so forth.
Yeah. He's as far as like he's a YouTuber that's interesting, and he has a lot of like traveloggy kind of videos, but they tend to have a lot of like polish to them as well, which I thought was interesting.
Interesting. I wonder if there's like a correlation of that with the Vaiji that are like more swaggery. All right, moving on to basketball. We've got 12 minutes. We can do it. Here we go. And anything you have to share, Glenn, please do, because this is a new bubble for me. All right, we're going to be seeing a lot of Zy-V, which is cool. One thing I've noted fairly quickly is that certain bubbles, when you go deeper into them, the demographics change a little bit and become more focused on certain ones. And that in basketball, all four of the well, two things basketball interesting is one is that the shades of consciousness. I believe, Glenn, it's the only bubble we have where all four of a shades of consciousness are prominent. The Jinai, Nai-Ji, Zy-V, and V-Zy all show up strongly in basketball, and I don't think there's anything else like that. So that's kind of a unique case study from that point of view. But as getting deeper into it, the Zy-V get more popular. So this is Zy-V Al-Farouk Aminu.
Yeah, you can definitely see the very calmness in the eyes and
yeah,
localized mooding.
Yeah, to kind of drink them in because we don't have a lot of Zy-V males, so it's good to kind of get these riffs in. Some of them are fairly obvious. Other ones are not so much. Yeah, very cool. All right, this one's you.
Zy-V Ryan Anderson.
He looks pretty clear cut. What's interesting to see here too is seeing adaptives in like a more leading role capacity. The Zy-V have a lot of swagger in this bubble. A lot of superstar Zy-V. So even though they're kind of more laid back, being towers, they actually kind of a bit more primal and alpha, so to speak.
Interesting.
All right, Jinai, Giannis, Antetokounmpo. Wow,
you don't have to attempt it if it's.
You know what though? I was noticing that when I was watching the basketball. I got to give props to those announcers. They must do training ahead of time because they rattle off these names like it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's a cool power to have.
Zy-V Trevor Ariza. Ariza.
Yeah, sheer cheeks. Got the G, very localized.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Zy-V Omer Asik. For me, I found him a little more challenging. I think he may have more Nai than some of them do. I had to make sure I wasn't looking at a Nai-G.
Yeah, it's the eyes that I think really give him away.
Yeah. Yes. He kind of, some of these looks, he kind of, how like Nai-G can have like a strong Nai-Zai stare. He's kind of got like a strong Zai-Nai stare.
Yeah. I'm noticing right now that I'm noticing two things, which is there's this very like sort of like calm looking eyes, and then there's the localized emoting in the mouth area. Those are two things that are really standing out to me personally right now.
Yeah, same here.
But yeah, he does have quite a bit of Nai, but the Zai adds like this very sort of like relaxed calmness.
Yeah.
The Nai adds more of like a dissatisfaction. It has a different feel to it.
Yeah, it's a little more dominant, a little more wary. I have noticed though that Well, it's probably too early to say that, but I think I may be noticing that the stronger players tend to have more, well, maybe not more nigh, just better development. So it means they have nigh and G in top of their momentum powers. But I guess that's probably for most bubbles. The more developed ones are more successful.
Yeah.
Although not always. Donald Trump's not the most developed. Oh, goodness.
Okay.
So that doesn't always hold true.
Is this one mine?
Yep, it is.
Zyvi JJ Baria.
Yeah. Now he's an interesting one. I like sometimes seeing ones that are like classic but have like a slight variation, because it's good to tell, like, oh, they're definitely a Zyvi, but they could be tricky. For him, it's V-Zy. The wideness of his cheeks are a little wider than some of them, but the emoting's still quite localized. So, I mean, it is Zy Alpha, but I had to give him a little bit more of a look just because of how wide his face is.
His eyes are also bigger a little bit too. He's got the forehead that's a little bit more wider as well. But he's got like these very fine featured qualities, like his chin and his mouth are a little bit small. His ears kind of like a little bit more tucked in and down. So yeah, and the emoting, especially on the picture on the right, it's big and it's big, but it's localized.
Very localized. Yeah, it's pretty big though.
Yeah. He's got a very good G, like a very good, nice.
Looks like it.
Big smile.
All right, Zyvi Harrison Barnes. Now he's one that I'm talking about. He looks like he has a good amount of nigh. I mean, that's definitely Zyvi though. The calmness, the sheer cheeks, localized in the mouth. But he looks a little more watchful or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Like I said,
like the calmness. Yeah.
What are you saying?
I was just saying, like, yeah, there's definitely, I definitely see what you're saying there. There's the calmness, but then the way he has his head kind of like pushed back there, it's sort of like he's kind of looking in a very sort of like wary kind of way, which I think denotes some use. And he's got quite a bit of G too. So yeah, like the swaggery quality that you were mentioning.
It's cool watching him because one thing, they do it a little bit in tennis and baseball where Zyvi also show up, but basketball, maybe it's because it's the one sport that also has a lot of Durams. When they like, well, maybe it's just the whole thing. The game I was watching, there's a lot more being pumped up. You know what I mean? Like when they do their free throws and so forth, like every time they do it, the teammates come over and clap them on the back. When they make their shots, they like let out these primal screams. So it's interesting to watch like the Zyvi, like, you know, rah! You know what I mean? A lot more like openly passionate. It's cool.
Yeah, it's the culture, I think, of basketball. It kind of like has that to it.
Yeah, it affects the riffs. But it's neat though.
Mm-hmm. I remember you mentioned something along the lines of like the basketball players, they all look the same as far as like their like the way that they do their facial, like their hair and everything, and their
tattoos,
like their tattoos. They all have that similar look, but they're all different. They're all different shades, the same powers.
They tend. I'll say one thing too. I'm not sure what this is as well. They tend to be some of the slicker dressers.
Yeah.
Overall, they're a bit more hip than some of the other athletes.
Yeah. This is Zyvi Matt Barnes.
Also, something else just made us not sure how far this goes, but I think there's something to it. Is as far as a culture, is the hip hop culture seems to be strongly associated with basketball, as compared if you like, you know, I know because I take walks down the park nearby here, and there's a baseball stadium, and they're pretty much always playing like some pretty colloquial, old school stuff. So
yeah,
baseball seems a bit more conservative as far as its musical tastes.
Yeah,
and also like how the sport brands itself. It kind of brands itself kind of old fashioned, where basketball kind of brands itself overall as, you know, hipper.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, that's I think one of the reasons why I was kind of like a little bit interested in it before, like because the way that they dress, the way that they kind of like act and behave, and sort of. I know it kind of gives off this sort of like professional, especially in interviews and stuff, like a professional athlete that's like very hip and like with it, I guess you would say.
Cool. Keep watching on that. Boom. Zyvi Brandon Boss. pretty classic, except his face is a bit more rounded. Sometimes when they're a little more rounded like this can be, it's not, maybe not everyone feels this way. For myself, sometimes when they have a slightly more roundedness in their features, it makes me want to lean towards, values-based. I found this on the Ziny too. Some of the Ziny that have a more rounded lines. I have to like really watch on them.
Interesting. Yeah, I was almost thinking like he sort of reminded me of who's that one basketball player that has, I think, like Magic Johnson. Yeah, he kind of reminded me of him for a little bit, but then I was like, no, there's something a little bit different.
I agree. Yeah, that's why I had to look at him, because he did. I didn't think of Magic Johnson necessarily by name, but he did make me think, is this a Gene or something?
Yeah.
And you?
All right, this is Gini Bradley Beal.
There we go. A little Durham in the mix. Represents
That's real Gini.
Yeah, real Gini. Yeah, you see the fine flexations on the cheek muscles.
Yeah, the ease of the emoting, yeah.
Definitely. And similar to actually the G we're talking about, the fitness, there's like this, I don't say happy energy, but upbeat energy. Pilots, objectives in general tend to have a bit more of an up and forward energy than subjectives do.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of like standing still for a picture, but he's still like a little more like ready to go forward.
Yeah, it's sort of like he's pausing, like he has to force himself to pause. Whereas I think with the subjectives, they kind of like are more comfortable with that, and they have to sort of like get themselves to move forward on things a little bit more.
Definitely. All right, two more. Here we go. Psi B, Patrick Beverly. Yeah, that's pretty classic right there.
Yeah.
Bright eye.
Really long face.
Long face. Those are like camera lens. He's got the cool veil over it, but still they have the camera lens quality.
Yeah.
And calm. He looks like pretty chill.
Yeah.
Probably not if he makes a score, but normally.
Yeah.
All right, this is yours.
This is Vizy JB Bickerstaff, and he's a coach.
Coach. Yeah, most of the coaches so far, Vizy or Zenai. Interesting. Although there are some, I don't know the names off the top of my head, that are like players turned coaches, and sometimes they're like Naiji or something. Not as common.
Right. There, I think, other than the shades of Naiji Ivy, I think there are some Vizy players as well too.
Yeah, there are. They're not super populous, but they are in there. And I think there might even be what's his name? The one who was with Kim Kardashian. He's a Jibai. Chris Humphreys.
Oh, I see.
So there are a few others. Once you get outside those four shades of consciousness, there are a few, but not nearly as populous.
And then the Xi V is the most populous.
Yeah, definitely. Although when you start,
and
go ahead.
When it comes to the female basketball, what do we know as far as that goes? Same.
So far, it's the same. In fact, there's a little less diversity, probably just because of how many samples there are and how big the bubble is commercially speaking. But what we've seen so far, it's the four shades of consciousness: Ginai, Naiji, Xiv, and Vzi. I don't think I know of a female by Z or Zenai or anything else outside of that. That might just be because it's not as big of a sport overall. Whenever
you mentioned the Zenai, is there male Zenai?
I believe there's maybe one or two. There's not a lot of them, but there might be one or two of them. It's rare, but in the rarities, I think you kind of have to have enough size of sampling before maybe the rarities show up. In the females, yeah. I don't think I know of any rarities. They're those four.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure about this, but the popularity I think may not necessarily be as much either. So their bubbles maybe not as big, or I don't know.
Yeah, the women so far not as much because well, I have to look into that how many teams they have. I know the males have 30 teams. I looked that up, and they have 15 players on a team, and 5 go on the court at one time. But on the males, a lot of their roster have video. With the females, mainly it's like the really well-known stars have video. A lot of their roster you can't get video on, at least not now, but I'm sure it'll change in the future.
Mm-hmm. I see. So popularity, I think.
It makes a difference.
Yeah.
So while we're waiting for the next person to come on, you were saying the angle you have gotten into basketball over the years, the more personal interest story. Is there any in particular that you have in mind? You mentioned Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Is there something about them that you liked, or?
I know that I watched like documentaries, and I've seen certain like documentaries of like Michael Jordan, and then like Magic Johnson a little bit too, and then I think I may have seen one or two of like Kobe Bryant as well, and certain other, like famous, well-known kind of basketball players, and it's just sort of like the way that they carry themselves, the kind of energy that they have, and the fact that they're like really good at what they do. Hey there, Bruno. I'm just wrapping up here, but yeah, just basically that they have like certain things about them that are like the fact that they're like really good at what they do. That drew me in to want to learn more about them. So that's usually what it is initially.
Very true. All right, Glenn, that was a great start on the basketball bubble, and we will continue with that next time. Thank you very much, sir.
All right.
Have a great night. Hey, Bruno.
Hey, Coach.
I've been jamming on the song before I came on. Cool. All right, but we have to focus. All right, sir. We'll just go ahead and jump into it. I am joined now by Nijai Bruno, and he and I are covering modeling and music. So let's get into it. Here we go. Modeling. Alrighty. So let me know if you see this. Here we go. Bam.
Yep.
Yeah.
I see it.
Cool. All right, here we go, sir. All right, first up is Ziny Lizzie Jagger. I'll have to check in on that, but I'm guessing she's related to Mick Jagger?
Yeah, isn't one of his wives?
He did a lot of supermodels.
Yeah, I think wasn't he married to that Ziny?
Jerry Hall.
Jerry Hall, yeah. Let's see. Jagger. Yeah, daughter of Jerry Hall and Mick Jagger.
Gotcha. Boom. All right, so next one's yours.
Naiji Magdalena Jessic.
Yep. That dissatisfied look. She's doing like the the sheer cheek kind of like calm look, but it doesn't look calm like Ziny do. It still looks a little perturbed or something. You know what I mean? Especially right here. Get some side eye.
A little put off or something.
Yeah, right. It's
part of pretty cool.
Charm.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm a fan as well, sir. All right. Here's the beauty pageant winners: Bizai, Jane, and J-Ro. She looks happy. That's a classic Cheshire cat right there. Big smile, sideways.
Oh, the screen's gone.
Oh, the screen's gone? Oh,
yeah.
Oh, I must have hit some by accident. There we go. Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, that one's yours?
Vijay Sabine Yemelyanova.
I can't think of a name, but she riffs on like dozens of Vijay ladies.
Yeah.
That look. That pouty lip look they make fun of for like, you know what I mean, selfies. The Vijay ladies had that down.
For sure. And and they have that nigh, and she has that nigh going. She's sort of like playing up the nigh.
Yeah, a mystery.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's a significant part of the signal, but it's just sort of being played up for effect.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, I see what you mean. Like almost like letting you know I'm mysterious. You know what I mean? Like I have nigh, you know.
Right, exactly.
All right. Vizai Claudia Jennings, Playboy Playmate. I may actually do like an adult entertainment bubble to kind of like keep some of these in their own thing. I think it might be a sub bubble of its own.
Yeah, it could be interesting, especially in the 70s. I suspect there were probably more interpretives involved in that back then because it was more of like a new thing. It was sort of like part of the sexual revolution and all that stuff that was going on. So I think there may have been, like Ron Jeremy's an EGI, like that's really strange. Like you wouldn't see that now.
Good point. Although, just Ron Jeremy's one I'd like to take another look at again as I'm getting more.
Yeah, the VGI.
Yeah, I'll make sure he's on VGI.
Yeah, that does seem like a good possibility.
So, I'm getting from the fashion bubble that we worked on. I forget who put the samples forward, but in the fashion, the hairstyles bubble, whatever, there's quite a lot of VGI. And we mentioned in certain areas of the food or the chef bubble, the VGI male. So I look forward to getting more riffs to play with.
Cool.
This one's you?
Zaini Jefima Yokchik.
Nice. That is classic right there. Wow. Dancing eyes, long sheer cheeks, very localized G.
Yeah, I still need a lot of practice with the Zaini.
This
Really-
one, bubble. They are dominant here.
This one would be really tough for me to tell apart from an IG.
Ah,
I mean, just because I don't have that much experience.
gotcha. Yeah, what helps is the sheerness of the cheeks and the localizing. But one thing, she kind of gives this disaffected look, which can be a bit tricky. Like this one here on the left.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So you're saying.
Yeah.
Worry?
Or maybe an IZ. Even, I mean, obviously they're not very prominent in this bubble, but
Right, but if you didn't know what bubble we were in, I can see what you're talking about. Yeah, 'cause she looks a bit serious, almost like she's.
yeah, sub-serb for sure, but I would have a tough time distinguishing. Okay, so this one is Genai Hannah Jones.
Ah, oh, that was my turn, but no worries.
Oh, sorry about that.
No worries. Yep, pretty classic. Now here on the left, this is a look they do a lot, which makes them harder to tell because she's almost trying to do the look that Zaini was. See, she's almost trying. It's funny. She's almost trying to make her emoting localized.
Yeah.
It's cool that you
Yeah,
see pictures here on the right. You're like, oh, there we go. That's momentum.
Yeah, that pout. It's very.
Yeah.
It's very like it's not something a Genai would do on TV or almost anywhere else.
No, it's a very specific to this bubble. They can do it. They're definitely trying to be Zaini or something like it. Alrighty. Wait a minute. Did I miss one? Okay. Jivy Malia Jones. So yeah, here on the left, she has that classic AdSense look. You know, the kind of the come hither with the shy and the clear eyes. A little more standoffish, not quite as welcoming as the Vijay. A little more, I don't know, sedate or something, removed. Like I can feel the discernment first with her. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah, it's more calm.
it's calmer, but not quite as approachable. But maybe it's because I'm a hunter. The gatherers seem a little more approachable to me from the adaptives, but that could just be my preference, or not preference, but like my view on it. Because the gatherers kind of seem almost sort of like they move in a way that like wants you to pay attention. She's kind of like almost like, are you paying attention to me? You'd be almost like a little like, I may imagine that, but I guess maybe if you were like a pilot, that's like a challenge that seems like easy to take up.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it definitely goes that way for me as well with the difference between pilots and hunters. It's like the pilots just seem like a little bit easier, so it's not as much of a challenge in a way.
Yeah. All right. You?
Zaini Marjan Yonkman.
She reminds me of someone on the left. Can't place it. But yeah, classic. Sheer cheeks. Very localized. But again, a little more serious. She's kind of doing like this haunted look. It's interesting how they use their Vi to give this sort of like haunted look. It's effective.
Right. A lot of Vi. Yeah, a lot of Vi in these Zaini models.
Yeah, that's when they do. They really play up their Zai, but they kind of downplay their knee a little bit. At least the dancing, laughing, upbeat quality. I don't know. Maybe it's seen as, I don't know why it's seen that way, but it seems like they don't do it as much. You know what I mean? Because you see Zai knee, for example, actresses. A lot of times you see a lot more of the dancing eyes. It's more obvious, but they almost purposely subdue themselves here. Must be effective because they're all doing it to some degree, so gotta be some tactic. Signee Dorothea Barth Jorgensen. Classic. Yeah, see here, yeah, see in the left here, she's kind of giving a little nod to look a bit, I don't know, serious or withholding. On the right, though, this looks like more classic momentum. Zai, but with a dancing eye. Still, you know, they do have.
Zaini Zhao Wenyu.
Nice. This is a cool sample just because she's pretty classic Zaini, but you know, having the Asiatic features kind of throws a little curve in there. I really like when there's like a real clear-cut sample that crosses over ethnicities. I love being able to track the phenomenon like that. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's the best. Like when I have like one or two riffs in there that are like cross race, which are just, it's just the best. It's like, there it is. You can't deny that it looks, you know, looks the same.
It's a species-wide phenomenon.
Yeah, I can't quite remember who, but she definitely reminds me of some of like the Caucasian Zaini that we have plenty of.
Yeah, I think we'll have to be in this bubble a little while, so we'll get our head around the names of them. But it'll come to us in time. Although some of these names are quite challenging. That's cool too. And Naiji to finish us off. Naiji Nastia Kusakina. And again, she's really trying to like keep herself flat, almost like a tower, just sort of like, you know, ethereal. But she still has that slightly like whatever. You know what I mean? That classic Nayapa, like whatever.
Yeah, I mean, she would almost remind me of Ivana Lynch, Nizai Ivana Lynch on the left there. Just maybe it's just superficial, but something about the GUs.
I can see that. She has her eyes kind of perked up as well, making them a little large, and her cheeks are a bit on the wider side too. So I could definitely see the knee's eye. This one here on the left. This one here on the left, she actually kind of reminds me a bit of some of like the Naiji rocker ladies. You know what I mean? They kind of
yeah.
So go ahead, take your picture, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And also the Fanning sisters, Elle and Dakota Fanning.
Yeah. Oh yes. Boom. Thank you. I knew it was ripping on something.
Yeah.
I was trying to talk and see if it would come to me. There you go. Thank you. All right. Boom. We are all set. Drop 12 new models to the world. All right. We're now going to jump into music. And music, by the way, I have 3 volumes now. So I filled it all in.
Yeah, you mentioned. That's pretty, that's amazing, dude. That's like.
I've been on it. All right, but that's actually really fun for the Sunday Hangouts. Do a new bubble. Alrighty, so first up, she gave me a fit because.
Oh, I can't see it.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, there it is.
Shiny Carla Blay.
Oh, awesome.
Do you know her?
Awesome. Yes, I was going to request her, and she reminds me a little bit of Carole King. I saw. Is that okay? Is that what helped you?
It was what helped me because when I looked at her, I kept thinking I was singing Shiny, but Shiny don't show up as often in music, and so I was like, am I mistaking a Nige or a Nize or something, something else? But no, Carole King was what made me think. I think that is her. That's what she is. Very shy in interviews. What's her music like?
It's like jazzy. It's like this kind of really strange jazz, sort of like art, improvisational. She does a lot of spoken word poetry type stuff with it. It's really cool.
Very cool. Yeah, because Jailene's also getting into doing the open mic and so forth, and so I'm looking for any shiny artists out there, any artists really. But it's always good to kind of like have something to take some lessons from, or ideas of how they did stuff. Even it's not the music itself, but just like how they are able to express, how they're able to get what's in them out. She didn't talk much in her interviews. She mainly let the other person talk.
I'm gonna have to check those out. I was actually reminded of her because I saw Jessie Mueller on Colbert talking about her play on Broadway where she plays Carole King, and that was another one I wanted to request is Jessie Mueller, because I'm wondering if she's also a Janie who's playing Janie Carole King. And then I was listening to Carole King, and it reminded me of Carla Bley for some reason. Just the way that they're not very similar. Carole King is more pop, and Carla Bley is more jazz, but there's some similarity. And yeah, and they just they both do like these like weird kind of kooky songs, like sort of like joke type songs in between other songs, and so it reminded me of her. And this was just like last week, so I was gonna request this one.
Yeah, go ahead and send in an email, and I will make sure we get it done.
Oh, I was gonna request Carla Bley, but actually I want to request Jessie Mueller as well. So I wonder if there's a three Janie there connected.
That would be cool. Oh, what's going on? I was like, what's going on? I forgot. Okay, she's the only one half in this volume. This is new. I have to open up a second volume. All right, here we go. So the other ones are going to be here.
Okay, and the screen is it's gone again.
Yeah, I'm changing documents real quick.
Cool.
But thanks, no, for keeping me honest there, because I do forget. All right. Okay, this one's yours.
Vijay Grace.
I'm not familiar with her.
Yeah, I don't remember her.
She's got a good amount of Nye going on for some of the Vijay. She looks a little more surly, a little like Pink in a way. Not the features, but just sort of a bit more feral or something.
Right, sure.
All right.
I can see that. I actually thought Pink was Jai-V, but yeah, cool. It's just my memory mistake.
Oh, no worries. I think we do have several music artists named Grace. There might be another one that's Jivi. All right. Naiji Kathleen Hanna, also known as Julie Ruin. Do you know her?
Yeah. I think she is or was married to MCA of the Beastie Boys. Naiji MCA.
Of what, Beastie Boys?
The Beastie Boys, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Adam Yauch.
Thank you. I'm also keeping a document for couples, so I'll write that in there. Kathleen Hanna and MCA. Nice. She looks.
I think she was already in the.
She like punk?
20K.
Is she punk or what is she?
Yeah, she's sort of like a feminist punk, sort of like Riot Girl.
Yeah, that's just what I got from the pictures.
Yeah.
Are those you?
Nijai Leah Hennessy. I don't know much about her, but I saw a bunch of these people that I requested on that interview channel, that Nize interviewer. She just had a whole bunch of these people.
Ah, gotcha.
So I don't really know much about her.
But she's the kind of Nija that sometimes have to look to make sure she's like not a Nige or something. She looks a bit more angry.
Right.
One thing I noticed is that a lot of these Nijai female music artists, they have that in general as compared to like the Nijai actresses. The actresses tend to be a bit more soft. there's a harder edge. I noticed the music artist was not always, but I'd say a little harder edge, or related to it a bit more nervous, feral. They seem to, I don't say they necessarily are more sensitive than the actresses, but they are more like open about how sensitive they are. Like in the interviews, the Nijai actresses, they try to hide that Nez Alpha, especially the Jez, that kind of neurotic or nervous energy, but the music artists don't tend to hide it as much. It's almost like a badge of honor. That makes any sense.
Yeah,
I mean, how they can't, like the difficulty in getting comfortable. They don't try to hide the fact that they have a hard time getting comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of music is almost exclusively, especially in subgenres.
I'm sorry, could you start again? It broke up a little bit there.
Oh, sure. A lot of music, especially in like indie or hip hop or alternative subgenres, it's almost exclusively a Nijez conversation. So almost everyone that you see in music will be Nijez with like a few other interpreters thrown in, which is really different from from movies.
Yeah.
So when you have like a purely Nijez type conversation, or almost entirely Nijez, it changes. It sort of brings that out a lot more, I think.
That makes sense, because you mentioned that made me think of something, which is that there's a correlation with the Naiji we've mentioned before. Is like in these more like indie kind of scenes with the Nijez, is these Nijai ladies tend to have a bit more of like an angry edge, like a revolutionary edge, and then the Naiji have this like rainbow bright edge. It's really, I think they're more. I think there's more of a full storyline. So I'm not saying to say they are more complete than other riffs of them, but there's something going on there as far as their connection to their other. There seems to be a strong connection to the other in music.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. For me, it makes sense. Yeah, there are downsides and shortcomings. For example, it's not as inclusive of a conversation. So in many ways, it's a little bit self-indulgent. On both sides.
Right.
Both the Nijai and the Naiji, it's a little self-indulgent, and it can go a little egocentric for both of them. But in other respects, it's a really good way to just let your other run free and just sort of embrace that other side.
Yeah, good. Like I said, for like don't go too far with it, but that validation is good, especially if you're not getting it in general. It's nice to have somewhere you can get that from. All right, next up, Nijai Yuka Honda from the group Sibo Mato. Do you know who that is?
Yeah, she's partners with another Nijai lady, Miho Hattori, that you just released a couple weeks ago. So that means Sibo Mato is double Nijai.
Gotcha. Oh.
Jinai Jennifer Hudson, and she's pretty famous, right? I forget.
I think R&B.
Yeah, she was in like some movies or something.
Yeah, she also did acting as well. Classic there. Jivy Leandria Johnson.
Reminds me of someone, I can't remember who.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, but I couldn't pull it though. I keep thinking on it. I want to say like the Pointer Sisters or something, but that might be wrong.
Oh, yeah. Definitely pretty close. Jivai Selena Kaluk.
She is friends with another Jivai. I don't know if she does the same thing, but the Jivai she's friends with does like that Mongolian. I mean, it's not Mongolian, but she does a throat singing.
Oh, cool. So Jivai doing ethnic music.
I do dig that throat singing. It's got a really gnarly sound to it. I like it.
That's cool, and obviously there's the Nai aspect of like being all inclusive and like being universal, and being an ancient sort of thing.
Yeah,
ties together the Nai and the Vai kind of thing.
definitely. I haven't heard hers, but her friend is very, very good.
Cool.
All right, Genai Kelsey Lou McJunkins. I'd say in general, though, in music, there's a bit more of an attitude. Even if you look at like the Vijay, like this, like the first end of the spectrum, like the Vijay pop singers, they have more attitude than the Vijay actresses. I don't know if that's because maybe people expect it from musicians, or maybe it's something you need to do. I know myself, for me to even get on the mic, I have to kind of like gear up. I don't even know how I would do it otherwise. Maybe other people experience that as well, or maybe people just expect that. But I think music is more, there is more ego to it than probably most other art forms. You know what I mean? Because it's kind of like you're out there, and a lot of times you're like saying, you're not reading a script that someone else wrote or something. You're doing it yourself, and you're not sharing it with other people a lot of times. Or if you are, it's just like a band that's like your tight crew. Kind of like a me against the world. The music has a bit more of a me against the world vibe more than some of the other art forms.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Don't you?
Nijai Miha.
Classic. The only thing I noticed is that you were talking about that thing about, was it, her last name was Blay, about the kind of quirky thing. That's I do notice that the ad ROMs seem to do. I actually think I was going to say is the females, but actually I think you see it with the Nijai males too, particularly like in rap and so forth, is they'll have like this really hard edge, but then they'll actually do some like quirky offbeat kind of stuff. And it really works. You know what I mean? Kind of like almost like to really throw you off from that street image.
Yeah, when you just said that, it made me think of Nijai Gucci Mane and this like ridiculous ice cream tattoo he got on his face. Just like really out there stuff, just crazy stuff.
It's cool. And I think there's part of that which I really like. They're not all Nijai, but several of them are from what's the name? Raekwon's part of the group and everything.
Oh, Wu-Tang.
Yeah, Wu-Tang. There's a lot of those people are Nijai, and I love how they take like this hard edge stuff and then put like this cool geeky like kung fu movie stuff in there. I'm like, yes, yes, more. Love it. Jai V, Gabby Marino. That's classic right there. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely reminds me of the same like cluster of people that the other Jai V reminded me of. Like the Pointer Sisters, that other Jai V lady.
Definitely. Last one is to you.
Nijai Ray Morris.
Nice. And that'll do it. Pow. Cool. So while we are waiting for next person to come on, what you got going on with your musical stuff? Where you? I know you're always trying out new things, and your other has you looking into stuff. Anything in particular that your other has you steering towards these days?
Sort of trying to like really for real like put a Vi closure, Vi commitments to those songs, which I'm basically done with. Although I've been like tuning them up a little bit, making little tweaks, and I've started a new song. And this new song, I'm just like, starting with. To me, it feels like a blank slate, but it's basically I'm starting with someone else's song, and putting it into a blank file. So the file is blank, and then I put in the song, and then I just drop in, kind of like what I do when you send me an idea. I drop in, like, I just start dropping things and seeing, like, putting pieces together, like a puzzle, seeing what works. And, I've just been, just sort of, like, what I've been focusing on is doing fewer and fewer things and smaller movements. So just doing more with less. Like, making it sound more expansive with fewer items every time. That's sort of what I'm building towards. Like making each thing mean more and say more, and therefore you need fewer things.
Gotcha. Very cool. Looks like Mitchell's coming in here now. He's working to get in. He can make it. Hey, Mitchell.
Hey.
Hey, Mitchell.
Hi, Bruno. That was very, very fun, and we're talking more about the music. Have a great night. I'm loving the beat, by the way. It sounds sick.
Cool, man. Yeah, having fun. Yeah, it's great. It's your idea, so I'll credit to you.
It's group effort, for sure. Have a good one. Hey, Mitchell.
Hey.
Alrighty. Are you ready for some tennis and some STEM?
Yeah. So how are we going to do this exactly? Do you for the tennis in particular? I mean, how much do you want to discuss the tournament?
I think we kind of just let it play. We can kind of go through and look at the samples and kind of just give me a tour as we go. Anything you have to say would be great. I don't really know anything, so kind of treat me as a noob, Mitchell.
Yeah. Just started. There's been 2 rounds so far.
How many
Out of
people
the 7.
played it?
Sorry? What'd you say?
How many people will be playing in it total?
I believe 128 for the. Well, I should for each one. So for like the men's singles, there's 128 people in that, and then for the women's singles, there's 128 people. And double teams, I think that might be the case too. I don't follow the doubles as much.
Now, is it like where the better players are seeded?
Yes, the top 32 players are seeded according to their world ATP rank.
So will they not show up in the first rounds?
They show up. Each player plays in every round. There are no buys, but they will not play other seeds until the 3rd round.
They won't play what?
No seeds will play one another until the 3rd round.
Okay, so then are they basically then usually expected to win?
They are, and vast majority of the time, especially in the men. For the men, it's even more consistent. They tend to the vast majority of the seeds tend to make it to the 3rd round. So it's something when non-seeded players do make it there, that means they're performing very well.
So
because they had to beat a seeded player or someone who beat a seeded player to get there.
Gotcha. So do you have anyone that you think is favored to win? What's the talk on that?
Well, it's interesting. Right now, I should mention generally the top 4 players in the world, prior to them, obviously Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic. Novak Djokovic is number 1. He's been dominant for a really long time. Rafael Nadal, he kind of fell off for a while, been injured. Federer's injured right now. He's not playing in the French Open.
Okay.
So that's kind of a big deal. So he wouldn't have probably won it anyway, though, because he hasn't been playing great. Like, he has a back thing. Nadal used to win the French Open like every year, and he's been playing really poorly lately.
I apologize just 1 second. Jolene's calling me, which is unusual. Hello? Yeah, I'm in a session. Is that okay? Okay, that sounds great. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. She apologized for the interruption. Go ahead.
That's okay. So I was just saying, Rafael Nadal, he's been kind of off for a while, hasn't been playing, but all of a sudden, this tournament, Rafael Nadal is like playing really, really well. Again, his first 2 matches, he's the 4th seed right now because he's a little behind, but he just annihilated people in his first 2 games.
I'm sorry, what did you say about he's behind? What does that mean?
Like his ranking is probably not commensurate with his actual abilities.
But
as far as his chance of winning this tournament.
If you come back strong, then you could still come to the tournament, just beat everyone. And
yeah, you could. You don't have to be even ranked high at all, but it's even still, yeah. Like, he's the 4th seed. He's gonna play Djokovic, I think, in the semis. So that those are probably the two best players in this tournament. Andy Murray is also pretty good. He's another Zyvi. He's a British Zyvi. He's pretty good. Those 3.
He's very serious looking Zyvi.
He is. Yeah, he's very serious. Very angry.
What is it that Nadal lost that he's gotten back, or has he put a new wrinkle in his?
I haven't been watching it, but so I don't know. I mean, I actually just looked at this today. I'm like, oh, Nadal's doing really well. But when I say he lost it, I mean I just mean he's been losing. He hasn't been doing well. Gotcha. But Nadal is the greatest clay player of all time. That's just a fact, just based on records. So
And
he is like the French Open champion. Yeah, this time, clay, the French Open. This is like his thing. He's won. I don't know. I mean, I forget how many times off the top of my head he won it. I used to know this stuff, but it's like 6 or 7 times or something ridiculous.
Wow.
He's won this tournament.
What makes it so good? Is it the controlling of the spin? Is that
He has enormous spin on his strokes. He's lightning fast. He's like as fit as it can be. He's really good at sliding. This Spanish player is actually
sliding? Are you talking the ball or himself?
Himself on the court. That's something you can do on clay. And so it really suits his style. And the Spanish players tend to train a lot on clay.
Why is that?
I don't know. It's just a kind of local thing, but they play a lot on clay there. This is part of their kind of tennis culture.
Okay, interesting.
Whereas like in America, it's almost all hard.
All right. Well, I'm going to open up the tennis document here, and then please keep talking as we go. In fact, maybe if you let me know if any of these ones that we're talking about now are any good or relevant.
Okay. Let's see if I see them. I haven't turned it. Open it now.
First up, with the women's, is it still the Williams sisters at the top of the game?
Venus has been not really top for a while, but Serena is. Yeah. Okay. Serena's
who would you say
probably
the top?
Probably the best women's player of all time.
Who would you say the top handful of ladies right now to correspond to the men? Or top 2, top 3 or 4?
Well, the ranking wise, Serena's number 1. Radwanska is number 2. I think this is good. I will say for the women it tends to fluctuate more.
Okay. I was curious also, like, maybe it's just I only know tennis mainly from just things come across the news sometimes, so it's very limited. So
oh my God, actually this one right here, Gabrine Muguruza, she's number 4 in the world right now.
Okay, great.
Yeah, she's in it. She's doing well. So
nice. On that, as far as doing well, I got the impression, but I could be wrong, that it was more competitive between the cluster of top men, and that like Serena Williams was a bit ahead of everyone.
Yeah, exactly. She has always been. She's consistent. She's always beating everyone. She's just dominates the women's game. She's ridiculously good. But besides that, it fluctuates a lot more. There's not a lot of there's noticeably less consistency in women that maintaining their rank, performing according to the rank as expected. Right. Etc. But also the benefit, on the plus side of that too, it's not just a negative thing. Also, newer, younger women tend to rise up pretty quickly too.
That's what I was going to ask. Is maybe you answered me already. Is there a reason people think that there is more volatility in the female rankings?
Well, I don't. Yeah, I really actually have no idea what the reason is, to be honest. I have not really heard of much speculation on that.
I was wondering, because that big thing just said, I was wondering, like, do they have like more of an influx of new players than men do, or about the same?
It is a little bit younger, I think, on average. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Might have something to do with it.
Intriguing. This is cool. This is great, Mitchell. I love having the tournament because it makes it more live and real.
Yeah.
Like she's not just a name now. She's like, oh, you're a contender.
It's because women physiologically mature faster than men. So I think men take
like
longer to reach.
Young player can be a force sooner. Yeah,
because it's a very physical sport. I mean, at the highest levels, like the men, especially if you're not like you're just gonna get overpowered.
Gotcha.
If you're not like fully.
Would you say the main thing is because I guess tennis uses a lot of different things, but they seem a lot of them. Well, not the Williams Center so much, but in general, a bit on the lean side for athletes.
Yeah, it is on the lean side. A lot of cardio too, and
because it's long, right? How long does a typical match go? It's like it seems like it's
longer. Oh, you know what? Another thing to mention is the women in Grand Slams have shorter matches than men. They only play to 3 sets, so that they play best of 3 sets.
Cut off there. That seemed important. What was that again?
The women in Grand Slams, in most tournaments, they play best of 3, but in Grand Slams, only men play best of 5.
Is there a reason for
They
that?
play longer matches. That's just tradition. It's just the way it's been. But I wonder if that also has something to do with the consistency that the better players are going to win more in those 5-set matches because they're going to have more chances.
Well, that because on that, for example, in like mixed martial arts, for example, is that they, for brevity's sake, for the viewers, they tend to be 3-round matches. But for championship or main ones, they go for 5. And the reasoning is, may relate here, is it kind of eliminates to a degree flukes.
Yes, it makes it much harder. You really have to earn it.
Yeah.
Yeah. For women, they don't do that though. It's still 3. It's still best of 3. Even in slams. So there are more. Yeah. That might be. I didn't think that's out. This is good. So there's the younger thing maybe, and then also the shorter matches.
Because you can have more
randomness
with shorter.
Yeah, it will. Because in the men, I mean, that happens. It will go 5 sets where some up and comer will beat a really good player in the first few sets, and then the really good player will come back and they're not able to maintain it.
Yeah, because
sometimes they will, but.
Yeah, because I do know that much from just watching news that in tennis, I guess it was men's. I didn't realize it was men's, but where they'll lose a couple of sets and they'll come back and like kick their.
Yeah, for women you can only lose 1 set.
It's
best of 3. So if you lose 2 sets, you're done.
Tough. All right, this one's yours.
Giles Mueller, I know him as well. Zyvi, Giles Mueller. I don't know if he's. No, I don't think he is, but he's a good player. I've heard of him. I can tell usually by I heard of them that they're a good player.
Ivy David Nalbandian.
Nalbandian, yeah, he's an older player. I don't know if he plays anymore, but he, back in the day, was one of Federer's biggest rivals early in his career.
He looks like he has an odd eye.
Maybe. He's a very kind of counter-punching style of Zyvi.
That's something that's interesting too. Is I was going to ask about that too. The counter punching thing that would seem to be native for Zyvi, but
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
No, but actually, but on the other side of that, you were saying that some of the Zyvi, because we were trying to wonder about why the Zyvi are kind of taking the sport over. You're saying that a lot of them have like really good like power serves and so forth.
Yeah, there's all because there's different riffs of them. Like they tend to really bonus stack something, except for like the very best. Like Djokovic is just really good at everything, but that's why he's so good. But and Federer and people like that. But most of them tend to have like a specialty. Like they're really good at something. Like they're just walls who never miss a ball and get everything. They're really good counter punchers. They're really smart and tricky, or they're just ridiculously powerful on the serve.
Gotcha.
It's something I never lose a service game.
On that, just I'm curious because it's somehow naturally think it'd be more inclined to a directive or an objective mojo. Are there Zyvi that specialize at like pressuring the net?
Not as commonly.
Not as common.
I will say that.
Is that more like a V-Zy or a Durham thing or something?
Well, not as many players are playing that way anymore, just because of how fast the game is. It is becoming a more baseline game, which maybe that's why they could just speed of it.
I'm sorry. What does that mean? Baseline game?
Baseline, like they. Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Oh, no, that's explain. Educational.
They play from the back of the court more. It's rare that players have much of a net game nowadays in singles because the game is just so fast and powerful. Players can't be done. It's like mostly only the best of the best, except for the few net specialists that there are, play a lot of the net. But yeah, Federer's really good at the net. Roger Federer, he that's always been. He's probably one of the best, maybe the best net player in the game, or one of them. Djokovic is pretty good. Doubles players tend to be very good at the net.
And doubles, they play in the same size court, right?
They play in the same size court, although they do get alleys. The alleys are in doubles, and this is a little bigger. But
what does that mean? I'm sorry, what does that mean?
On the court, there are like these alleys on the side, these extra lines. In singles, those are out, but in doubles, they're in. Okay, so a little more space. A little more space on the wideness, but yeah, the same lengthwise. Gotcha. This one's you? Visai Kurumi Nara. Yeah, and actually another great net player, one of the other greatest net players of all time was Jaini John McEnroe. Interesting. He was supposed to also, I don't know what this means, but they said he had a really great touch, a very... Yes, that's part of that. The net playing is mostly about touch. What does that mean? That means just he had a way. You're basically taking a really powerful ball and like softening it and like massaging it to do what you want. It's very, very artsy. The sub-ROMs tend to be very good at it.
Gotcha.
I've noticed a lot of the Nige Pete Sampras was a really good net player. Nige Boris Becker.
Saibi Alexander Nedov Yasov. That's look intensity right there.
Yeah. I don't recognize him.
Yours?
Saivi John Newcomb. That's a very old player.
Yeah. Ivy Monica Nicolescu. She was a little trickier for me just because of the wideness of her face, but
Yeah,
voting doesn't.
I see it. But I can like she's at that like gauzy
Yeah,
eyes.
eyes. And kind of like right here is holding her space. Like that's like Chili holding your space right there. Who?
Vizai Jelena Ostapenko.
She looks young. Is she a newer player?
Don't know her well, but she does. I concur with your assessment. She looks young.
How young do tennis players start? I mean, I'm not.
It's for the women. Like you see these. I mean, obviously it differs, but for the individual, but you see them like really young. Like I think there's been ones in the professionals as young as like 16 or 17.
Wow.
For the males, that would never ever happen.
What's the age for the men's going pro?
I don't know off the top of my head. That's probably in their 20s. I would think.
Interesting.
Like low, young 20s. Yeah, and yeah, 16, 17 is hardly average for women. That's pretty rare, but it does happen.
It does happen.
But it's like the difference.
So would you say there's about like a 5-year difference in general? Does that sound right, or?
Maybe. It might be less than that, but the women do tend to be younger, and they also tend to retire sooner.
Is that due to?
Well, I mean, like they have like the same length of career
Gotcha.
relative to one another, but like sooner than the men because they start earlier.
How long is the career of a tennis player usually? Prime years.
That's a really good question. I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say like maybe a little more than a decade for like them playing at the top professional level.
Top level.
Yeah.
So would you say then like 20 to 30 is kind of average?
Yeah, that sounds about right. Ish. Yeah. Like
So actually,
Federer's pretty old. Like, but he's taking good care of himself. He's known for that. But he's getting old now. But yeah.
I guess I maybe had a misconception. I guess I had heard that tennis is hard on your knees and so forth, but I guess I didn't realize it was such a hard on your body sport. I thought maybe you would.
I think that's changed. Yeah, I think it's getting harder and harder. The game's getting more and more physical,
Explosive.
faster, more explosive, more powerful
Gotcha.
as racket technology and things like that increase.
Is that actually a big deal? The racket technology?
I mean, it's way different than it used to be. And like you wouldn't notice it from year to year that much, but over time it makes a big deal. You watch like John McEnroe play with those wooden rackets. Back then, like the net game was so common, and that's why they were great. But nowadays, you just couldn't play like that. It's just the ball moves too fast.
In general, maybe use the serve as a barometer. Like, what were serves like 20 years ago versus serves now as far as speed?
Oh God, yeah, way slower. Like, I'm trying to think something like. I don't really know the numbers on that. I can look it up, but
What's the Zybe, the one you said now who's the best? He's got a really good serve, right?
there's a few, but John
how,
Isner, the best is Ivo Karlovic.
how fast are the best ones hitting it at?
Probably 150, 160 miles an hour.
Shit. Okay, so that's faster than a fastball.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, it's not a bat, too. There's more space on the racket. But there's a lot of anticipation in dealing with serves that fast. Not everyone's serving that fast all the time, Like that's like the best of the best. Most of it's probably around like average for like a really good player is probably like in the 130s. But
And what do you mean by there's lots of anticipation?
Because it's moving so fast. Like the best returners, you have to predict to some degree what's going to happen, or you're just going to get.
Gotcha.
Like, Federer is known for that. He was known as being able to good at returning very fast serves. Even though he's an IG, he wouldn't maybe, but I mean, it's because he would like predict it where they were going to go.
Gotcha. Bizai, Tamara, Pajek. That's something I was going to wonder about too. I was curious about how that would play. Is that ball placement is a big deal, right?
Yes.
But also, I imagine surprising people with ball placement is a big deal. Is there?
Yeah, especially as fast as it is. Yeah, wrong footing people that's a strong tactic.
Is there something people do to kind of like fake to make their body language look like they're going to hit something to one side and then they change it, or is it all in just the hit itself?
I'm sure people do that a little bit. I don't know if it's the most common thing, but yeah, I mean, people fake one another out and they use strange spins and stuff, and they you don't turn your body until like the last moment, and that disguises your stroke. If you turn your body sooner, it's a very visceral thing and be hard to explain, but people can tell where you're going to hit it. Whereas if you wait until the very last minute to turn your body, it's very difficult to tell. And the best players are very good at doing that, so their strokes are very hard to predict.
Gotcha. When you were heavier in tennis yourself, was there a style of play that you favored?
That I favored? That's a good question. It's hard to describe my style. I was probably on the more, just because of my build and whatnot, focus a little more defensively oriented, more. I tried it maybe more consistent than other players at my level. For my level, I was probably not as maybe powerful, but not like totally on the low end of that, but maybe more consistent, more of a shot maker, more fast.
Shot maker, what does that mean? Does that mean good ball placement?
Yes.
Gotcha. This was yours?
Saivi, Anastasia Pavlyushin. Hang on.
I was talking to Glenn on those the basketball players from around the world have some crazy names. I admired the announcers who can rattle them off, no problem. So same here in tennis. Those announcers, props.
Yeah. Some of them are from those countries, so they have the advantage, but like Marina Navratilova.
Ivy Guido Pella. Yours?
Zyvi Flavia Panetta, I'm familiar with her. She's very good.
She's very good. Is she like top 5, top 10?
I don't know her rank, but
she's a contender.
Yeah, she's good for sure. She did well in some tournaments recently. I don't think she must have lost in this tournament. I don't see her in the third round of the women here, but yeah, I've seen her do. She's been in the late stages of Grand Slams before.
So in stage 3, how many players will there be?
32. That's how they're both the men and the women are currently at round 3, so there's 32 left.
When does it come on? The round 3.
French is it's hard to watch because it's like in the morning, like middle of the night morning.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
that'd be hard for a fan.
Yeah. Wimbledon's like that too, although I think it's a little less bad because England's a little closer.
All right, well, those are the tennis ones we had so far. I don't know if we have time to really get into STEM. We only got 4 more minutes. Maybe we should chat a bit more about tennis this time because it's really interesting. I'm learning a lot. I have a big learning curve here. This is helping me. How big a factor? Because one thing hearing about tennis over the years, and one thing I did note was that they had these really long matches. How big of a deal is that as far as like how fatiguing earlier matches are?
Or like earlier in the tournament, like how players like they play a long match and then their next tournament they're a little more that is a big deal. Yeah, they try to space it out, so that's less of a concern. They try to make it not like that as possible. I mean, within the match, the fatigue will be what it'll be. Nothing you could do about that, but that's just part of the game. But they do try and particularly in the later stages of the tournament, there's larger breaks between the rounds.
Okay, that's good.
Because I mean they can afford to do that because there are less players, so there's time, but it halves every round. But
Was that halves? What's that?
Halves the amount of players every round because half of them get eliminated.
I'm wondering also is that the length of it. I don't know if you answered that. I was curious because it goes. What is love?
Love is 0.
So how does one win a set? I guess because if I'm mistaken, is there
you have to win 6 games
between tennis and volleyball where you have to do a certain thing to get a point, but that can go back and forth for a while? Because that's why I heard about tennis is that the match.
Yes, tennis has a lot of back and forth that way. The scoring system is very forgiving to losers because it's very sectioned off, so it's difficult to stay ahead. That's hard to do. It takes a lot of discipline, but within a game, you have love. That's both players start love all 0-0, whatever you want to call it, and then it goes 15 is 1 point. That's just what it is. 30 is 2 points. 40 is 3 points, and then the 4th point wins you the game. But if both players tie at 40-40, there's a deuce, and then you have to win 2 in a row, or the game just goes on forever. There have been some long deuces in the history of tennis. It doesn't happen usually. Most of the time, it'll go back and forth a few times and someone will win. And then for games, that gets you 1 game. You have to win 6 games to get a set, and you'll just and whoever gets the 6 first wins. But you have to win by 2. So if it's you can win up to like 6-4, but if it's 5-5, it has to be 7-5 to win now. But also there's this thing for sets, so it doesn't go on forever. There is a tiebreaker. So if it ever gets to 6 all, both players have 6. Then in most cases, the players will play a special tiebreak. It's kind of like a long game up to 7, and you have to win that by 2. And then the person who wins that wins the set. Except for in some Grand Slams, I don't think it's the French. I think it's maybe just Wimbledon. The last set, there's no tiebreakers. You have to win by 2 games, just straight up. So you could have a score like 13-11 or something like that. And there's been some historically very long sets. I think the longest is like the 50s or something like that. So the longest matches that if they've gone over days, they have to actually stop the match.
Holy shit!
That's very rare, but it does. It can happen. Yeah.
I had to move on here with Ben, but I have one last question for you. Maybe you can tell me next time if it's complicated. But I was curious, in volleyball, there's something about like when you win a point or something, you keep serving. Does a serve just automatically go back and forth between people, or can a person just keep the serve?
It automatically goes back and forth. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you serve, the next person always serves.
Because I know volleyball can suck. Like the person is really good at serving, they might get the ball.
Exactly. That would be a huge advantage in tennis. Serving is a huge advantage. It's considered. The serving player is always expected to win.
Gotcha.
Even amongst the better returners, like they still win their serve most of the time and lose most of their returning games, but they have a higher percentage of winning their returning games.
Okay, so basically, it's just a higher percentage of returns gets you over the.
Yeah, there's a special name for beating someone on their service game. It's called breaking them. It's like an event.
It's like a big deal.
People are usually expected to win their serve.
Very cool. All right, so then next time, will the tournament be over?
Probably not. No.
Okay, cool.
Probably be in its later stages.
Cool. So then we'll be getting into the more known players. Is that right?
Yeah. By then there'll probably just be like 4, 8, maybe even just 2 players left by then. I'm not really sure.
Cool. All right. Well, we'll follow up next time with you.
All right.
Very
See
cool.
ya.
Thank you. That was great. That was really cool.
See you, Ben.
Yeah. See you, Mitchell.
All right. With me, Ben. He and I will be tackling, as we have been, U.S. politics. Dun dun dun. All right. So I guess the presidential race is kind of just going along as it has been.
Yeah.
Except
something happened today. I think Sanders and Trump like basically like informally agreed to like debate each other in like some like large stadium in California. They haven't like agreed to the specific terms of like what the network will be, and the stipulation that the Trump had was that like $10 million have to go to charity, funded from the
$10 million have to go to charity.
funded from the
Event.
the event. Yeah.
Okay. Question. Curious. Why do you think he's doing that? Not the charity, but also I was like,
Yeah,
there's
there was this thing that happened earlier on the season where Trump basically skipped I think one of the earlier debates on the Republican side, and what he did instead is he held an event that was basically just like a rally that nearby, and I think he raised a certain amount of money for charity. So while the debate was happening, he was like raising money for charity at holding a rally. So then he used that as a talking point to say that, like, make him seem like a better person.
Right.
So I think that's part of why he did that, because he's like, and also additionally, with being seen as a better person, it also makes him seem like he's more economically efficient, because he's running a campaign, or at least I haven't checked if this is true, but he's saying that he's not spending very much money at all, so he's running a very economically efficient campaign. So he's pitching himself as being this businessman who really knows how to work with and manage money. So he's saying that because his campaign is so economically efficient, the fact that he's even raising money for charity means that he would be better, more economically efficient as a say a president. So
yeah, that logic's not very sound, but okay. Question.
He's trying to project that image.
Yeah, and it works because his base is not very smart. Curious why he went with Bernie, because isn't Hillary the expected?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Bernie Sanders at the stage in the campaign is he's kind of in a position where he doesn't really have anything to lose, but he needs like it's kind of like a desperation move where it's like, I mean, I don't know if it necessarily is. He could be doing this simply because he wants to, but he's at a stage in his campaign where he needs to do stuff. He needs to do something that's
Drastic.
Yeah, kind of drastic, very something that would shake things up. And that's
Do you think
a very big event, like
Trump feels he's less of a threat to him than Hillary would be in a debate?
I think with Bernie, he's somebody who's much more willing to do this because he is pretty sure he's not going to win. Like, he needs to, he feels like to have any prayer at all, he needs to, just.
So you think Hillary? Okay, so you're saying it's not so much probably that Donald Trump is scared of Hillary as that she probably wouldn't agree to this setup.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't. And this debate came after, like, because originally Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were supposed to have a debate sometime in May, but then she didn't. Bernie had like an offer for her to debate like with Fox News or something, and then she declined to debate with him. So he feels like she broke her promise and so forth. So then and I guess informally Trump and Bernie managed to
work something out.
Yeah, they haven't worked out with any network yet. So I mean, there's some some talk that it might not actually happen, because getting like a network to like this short notice to hold and broadcast a debate, and also raise like $10 million for charity with the event, but it might not work out, but it could. I mean, they seem to be taking it somewhat seriously, or not serious enough that it could possibly happen. One of the speculations is that because Trump and Bernie are effectively opponents of Hillary Clinton, that this could be bad for her, because she won't be there, and they will, and
Either they're debating each other,
because
they might
it's like
crash or some.
Oh, what?
so that they're debating each other, there might be some mutual bashing of her, or
Yeah. I mean, there's some speculation that Trump could just like lure Bernie into bashing her.
gotcha.
She wouldn't debate with him. He might make the argument that I think he's been making the argument recently that the Democratic establishment is like a rigged, it's a rigged process. Just like he's been making the argument that's a rigged process on his side, and he's like also coming from a position of being an outsider. I mean, obviously the way he does it is different, but there's a lot of things he could that Bernie Sanders has said that he could potentially try and say in the general election and so forth.
Gotcha.
So there's speculation he might try and spin it that direction, and and it may end up being bad for Clinton that they are debating.
Gotcha. On the whole outsider thing, there's also been this dance. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe you can give me a little insight on it with trying to get Paul Ryan to endorse.
Yeah. With him being because like traditionally, usually people are pretty quick to rally behind the nominee, and to have like the Speaker of the House basically like probably arguably like the second most influential GOP person right now being the Speaker of the House, to have him not say that he's not ready to endorse him usually is a sign that Republicans and party leaders are not comfortable with him being the nominee at a time when normally there is a lot of unity. There have been times in the past where big politicians on one side of the aisle say they won't line up behind the nominee, but to have the Speaker of the House do it ends up being a pretty big deal, because he's like he's probably like he's like one of the biggest dudes.
On that being one of the biggest dudes, wasn't there also some thought that if things got bogged down with the Republican primary that he might step in? Because he's saying,
there was
some are saying like his saying he wasn't going to go in was like a ploy, like he really does want to be president.
Yeah, there was some weird stuff where like he posted, or there was, I think he released like some sort of advertisement that it almost looked like a campaign ad, but like it was basically one of those political ads where it kind of it basically showed him giving a message about how to unify America, and I think the party and so forth. It was a message like that, but it was very vague, and it wasn't really it didn't really say specifically what the ad's purpose was, and people speculated that could be because he was planning on stepping into the race, but it didn't end up happening. There is speculation he might run in like 2020 for president, though. That's quite possible. If Hillary Clinton gets elected, it's a real possibility.
Gotcha. All righty. Well, let's get into some samples.
All right.
I'll take odds, you take evens. Here we go. I got a bunch of Visey today. Visey Rick Larson. There it is. Squinty eyes, unaware mouth.
He's got that. I don't know how to describe that look. Picture on the left. It's kind of, it's really smiley, but
You're right. It's awkward smiley.
yeah, and it's like that. God, like that, and just that area, like from the eyes to the mouth, is just kind of like a smudge thing.
Yeah, it's just smooth there. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's trying though. He's trying to put a smile there.
Visey, Robert E. Bata.
Yeah, he actually reminds me of like a literal nice Z. I can really see the Zez Hunter with him.
Yeah. With him, I see how like refined and sheared the cheeks are.
Definitely. He's got the unaware mouth here, but he seems like he's a little better at doing it than some of the other ones are.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Picture on the right, he's more emoting. Picture on the left, I see the more refined features more.
Yeah, definitely. Well, he's kind of got a refined look overall. You're right. IG Brenda Lawrence. Had to look at her for a little bit because she's got that power head.
Yeah.
Next, yours.
Vaji, Sheila Jackson Lee.
Yeah, another powerhead by Alpha.
Yeah.
Tricky. One thing that's interesting is that so far there's not been the correlation with the Vi-Z ladies, which is, unfortunate because we really need Vi-Z ladies. You know what I mean? But like the demographics are pretty similar between them, except males and females. But the males have a large contingent of Vi-Z, but not the ladies. And then the ladies, it's not big, but there's a noticeable contingent of G-Vi and Z-Vi, which doesn't show up with the men.
Interesting. Yeah.
Not sure why that is. Vi-Z, Oscar Leeser.
Yeah. It's hard to answer questions like that because oftentimes there's multiple reasons. Like it's very difficult to answer a question that's like multiple causes possibly,
But you can do it if you get enough data. So we'll just have to
if you get enough data, yeah.
More data, more data.
Vaji, Sandy Levin.
He reminds a little bit of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, he's got that. I don't know. Does he?
I'm not sure why. Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's old. Something with the eyes, I guess, and also.
Yeah. It looks a little wild. You know what I mean? Because Bernie,
Yeah, he's kind of like. What's the word? Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, he's kind of like nonchalant, sort of. Like he's not really like he doesn't. He says something and he doesn't really.
that's it. That's it.
Right.
Seem to be just care as much as a lot of the Vi-Z politicians.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even they act like they're being cool. You can tell they really care, but he looks like whatever.
Yeah, I said that. It's like
Right.
like he has a purpose beyond just like pleasing people. So.
IG John Lewis, Powerhead.
Very intense there in the picture.
Yeah, very tense. Yes, yeah.
Vaji, Sam Ricardo.
He reminds me a little bit of Paul Ryan.
Yeah. I get that.
Clean cut GQ.
Yeah, clean cut and something in the eyes is. Oftentimes it's eyes. Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of
Very affable, but I don't know how much I would trust it.
yeah.
Of course, I'm suspicious of politicians in general.
Yeah.
Zenai Ted Lieu. Classic. Man. Yeah, they definitely are. They had that more, kind of power face and a little more pugnaciousness, but they also have a more up energy, being objective and more slinky with the interpretive. It's kind of, you know what I mean? They're more forceful than the Vi Alpha, but in a way brighter also.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about is it seems to be because politics is really, as far as getting elected, it's a large part. It's about like selling yourself, right? You're selling yourself for this position, pitching. You as a person is filling a particular role. So it seems that those who, succeed in politics or mojos that do tend to be more, at least on as far as our culture is concerned, what people tend to value in people. Those particular mojos tend to be valued in line with
at least valued in positions of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like those, I guess it seems likely that those mojos tend to be more I guess, persuasive or more, easier to pitch for those roles.
Hey there. That one's yours, Ben?
Oh yeah, Visey Daniel Lipinski.
He's smiley, but pretty classic Visey.
Yeah. On left is kind of funny. It's kind of, I mean, he's doing, he's got some Jai there and a bit of knee too.
Yeah, you're right. He's got a lot of knee there in the picture too. Looks a little crazy.
It's like he's doing kind of a Jai and knee look as a Visey, so it's kind of.
Yeah, and in that picture, I can kind of see. We talk about the Vaiji and Zai knee. I can see like the connection to the Jai knee, like a hard Jai knee.
Oh yeah.
Vaiji Frank Lobiando.
His face is really long.
It is. He's got that pallor too, that Biafra pallor. Which is funny because he looks like tan here, but still has that look.
Yeah. Visey, Dave Lobsek. Yeah, he kind of rips me off some of the Nizy we've seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. He doesn't kind of have the rip a lot of these other Visey do. He looks different, more casual or something.
Yeah.
Vaiji Zoe Lofgren, another powerhead. Yeah, those eyes though. That's intense.
Wow, Z9 Billy Long.
All right.
Wow.
He's the one that had all kinds of like drug problems, isn't he?
I don't know.
I think Jolene and I've seen him being made fun of like a John Oliver. I think he's like one of those train wrecks that keeps getting elected. Like his constituency is like, yeah, he's a drug addict and so forth, but we like him.
His head is like massive.
That's a big head.
It's like a power head on steroids.
A power head among power heads.
Yes. I mean, it looks like a guy who could be like on Family Guy. Like this is how they depict a politician.
I know what you mean. I know, but exaggerated. Like real people don't actually look like that. Some do. This guy does. Vaiji Jeff Longwell. Not much to say there. Moving along.
Visey, Barry Lodermilk.
Not sure what is exactly, but he rips me a little bit of Jeb Bush.
Yeah, I get that. He's kind of got that kind of clean cut look. He's got that. He's similar age probably. I don't know. And also his energy too. I think to some extent.
Yeah, he seems kind of a little more affable or laid back or something.
Yeah, kind of laid back, kind of affable, kind of I guess very. I mean, I feel like the way he's coming off is kind of very. Jeb Bush kind of likes to be seen, I think, as kind of very smart, but generally pretty friendly, but generally like, not really like. I don't know. He seems to.
I know Jeb.
Kind of just like a smart dude. I don't know. Like.
No, I understand. But that thing you're saying, I think, is a good point too. I don't know about this guy Loudermilk, what his what side of the aisle he's on, but with Jeb Bush, I think he conscientiously tries to play down the harsh, inhumane vibe sometimes the Republican or conservative party can give off. He tries to be like, I'm a human guy. I care about stuff.
Yeah, kind of relatable, smart dude. It's kind of.
Yeah, there you go. I think too is sometimes people don't think the conservatives, that they're, because they tend to sometimes have some more backward views on like science and whatnot. He tries to sort of counter that a bit. By G, Mia Love. She has a lot of G.
Yeah.
And D. She's a good G and D.
Yeah, yeah. By Z, Ellen Lowenthal.
That's a classic by Z right there.
Yeah.
That's a serious individual.
Yes.
Like, just looking at him, I feel like I should ask, like, Shailene if our insurance is up to date.
Yeah. Yeah. He's kind of.
I'm getting worried.
He seems very like thoughtful. Like, I mean, you look in the picture on the left. It looks like, I mean, he thinks things through
Yeah.
very carefully.
He looks
and
very serious.
It's kind of, you know.
That's a good point. So yeah, I mean, he makes me a little uneasy, but I can also see how it could make him, you know, kind of exude an aura, a person who can handle responsibility.
Yeah.
He exudes a lot of gravitas. By G. Blaine Lutkemeier. There, that's classic. The Jez Hunter smiling. Wong wong. Wong wong.
Yeah. Kind of picture on the left a little bit like Rick. That smile is kind of riffing me a little bit off of Rick Perry a little bit.
Yeah, totally. Especially when Rick Perry started being, you know, smart Rick Perry with the glasses.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Zivi, Cynthia Loomis.
See that upbeat energy a lot of times the pilots have, but it still has that pinched look. What helped me with her is that I've been doing some soccer, and she reminds me of several of the soccer ladies.
Interesting.
Yeah, because they tend to be very happy, and they have big smiles and bright knee. Like, yeah, we're playing soccer. By Z. Stephen Lynch. Pretty straightforward there.
Mm-hmm.
It reminds me a little bit here on the right. Something about him. Reminds me like a younger, who's that guy, that owner, that got caught saying a bunch of racist stuff to his mistress, and then he had to lose his sports team?
I don't know.
Anyway, he reminds me of him a little bit. Not sure why.
Baji Tom MacArthur.
Pretty straightforward there. A little bit of a large head, but pretty classic. That smile looks knowing.
Yeah, it's really interesting energy. He's I mean, he's got like the rounder features, but he also kind of looks like. Picture on the right, he kind of looks like an owner of like a club or something. Like,
Yeah.
You know, very probably really good social game. You know,
It might be nothing at all, but something I just might be worth noting is I don't think you see a lot of politicians with goatees, do you?
no, I don't.
It's usually clean shaven or a mustache.
Yeah, that actually has a lot of sway. It's interesting. It's more like
It looks hip. It makes him look hipper or something.
yeah, more hip.
I wonder why the goatee's so frowned on, because I mean, I guess since he has it, there's no like dress code says you can't, but they just generally seem not to do that.
Yeah.
I guess it's frowned on.
Yeah, I guess it's maybe seen as a younger hairstyle. I don't know.
Or like a little rebellious or something.
Rebellious, yeah.
All right, by Z. Sean Maloney. He reminds me of a quarterback.
Yeah, it kind of has that look to him.
And there might be an astronaut that looks like him too. All right, Flaxman's yours.
Zenai, Kenny Marchand. Kind of looks like Newt Gingrich a little bit.
Yep. Okay, good. That's not just me. I'm writing that down for Bruno. Kenny Marchand, Newt Gingrich. Yep, I saw the same thing. So that's a good ref. Yeah. Something interesting with some of these Zenai, him and that other train wreck he won that had that really big power head, they have kind of squinty eyes.
Yeah, it's like
It's almost like their head is swallowing their eyes.
these huge heads and really squinty eyes.
This guy, he's a Zenai. It almost looks like his face is eating his eyes.
Yeah.
The power head, for sure.
For sure. Oh,
Politician.
there was that one guy, something Billy Long. I was going to ask you, it wasn't that guy that John Oliver was making fun of, or someone, maybe it was Trevor Noah, that like he was like a crackhead and he got caught for crack.
He was the mayor of in Toronto.
And did he still get like elected or stay on? Like his constituency were like, oh, it's all right.
Yeah, I don't think it really. I don't think he really got
in trouble that much.
As much as you would expect. Yeah.
The king, though, the king. I don't think anyone can take the crown so far from Marion Barry. Got caught red-handed by the police and then got reelected. Nice. All right, we have like 3 minutes. I guess maybe you can let me know maybe what is going to be happening coming up with the presidential. What are people angling for now? Because it kind of seems like the primaries are pretty much wrapped up.
Yeah, pretty much. So
I do know I saw something about Trump making a Pocahontas joke.
Yeah, I think he compared Elizabeth Warren to Pocahontas, I believe, or was that? I think it was Elizabeth Warren. It could have been Hillary Clinton, but I think it's
I think that sounds right. And then I didn't know what it meant because I didn't actually read into it. But apparently, a reporter questioned him about it, and he goes, "Oh, that bothers you?" And then he went and used the same line again. He's such an ass.
Yeah. Kind of. I mean, his base is because he's like he's like supposed to be. He's basically pitching himself as the guy who says things that nobody else is willing to say.
But that's not really one from a president. It's just someone's going to say what others going to. I mean, it's a shock jock. He's basically a shock jock as president. I mean, being a shock jock is great if you're a shock jock, but being a shock jock as president, not a great idea.
Yeah. It's like impressive if the reasons that people aren't saying those things are stupid, but if you don't have a good reason for saying them, then you're just going to make yourself, make an ass of yourself.
Pretty much. I'm curious how they're going to come after him in the coming up, because it'd probably be Hillary versus Trump. Is she going to try to take higher ground, or she's like going to go Z9 to Z9 with him of like, okay, let's just bulldog each other?
I think she's going to go pretty hard on the offensive. As far as I'm concerned, she's already like the advertisements she's putting out are pretty rough on him. Like it seems like these past few months, Trump has basically been making a fool of himself, and her campaign has basically just been building up their case file on what to hit him with, right, for the general election.
The funny thing on that though, he seems fairly impervious to a lot of stuff, but then weird stuff will hit him. Like he seemed bothered about people making fun of his small hands and what that might mean about his anatomy. Like that bothered him. He actually felt he had to defend himself. Normally he doesn't even say, so he's like, yeah, whatever. But some stuff does bother him. So it's interesting to see what he's thin-skinned about.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's 7:30. That is our time. Do you have any closing thoughts before we head out?
No, I think I'm good. I think it's
excellent day. We are crushing this bubble, crushing it. Done.
Yes.
All right. Have a wonderful evening. I'll see you on Sunday.
All right. It's been good, Coach. Have a good night.